Welcome to Care is Everywhere. It's me, Anthony Brown, aka the Ghetto Practitioner. Man, I'm excited today to have this guest. I have written in her magazine Spotlight on Recovery for almost 2 years. She's a big advocate out there in the community, and I can't wait for us to just share the knowledge that this young lady has for us. And so we're going to bring Robin on, and I just want to introduce you to Robin Graham. Welcome to Cares Everywhere, Robin.
Hi, thank you, Anthony, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, thank you for donating your time for us. What's really fascinating, or I tend to just jump right into it. Robin's magazine focuses on mental health, trauma, recovery, and giving voice to the therapeutic community, including those that are incarcerated. I find this super important that we bring care everywhere. And Robin is the perfect vehicle. At the end of the show, she's going to share her information, how you can get a hold of her, how you might be gifted with the opportunity to have your writings published in her work. And so all of those things we're going to do a deep dive into. But as for right now, Robin, through storytelling, amplifies voices that often go unheard, shows that hope, healing, and transformation is possible everywhere. Today, we'll hear her journey, learn about the magazine, explore some sharing experiences that can empower individuals and entire communities. And so, moving right ahead, again, thank you for sharing your time with us, Robin. Let's talk about, start from the beginning. Can you share your journey and what inspired you to focus on mental health, trauma, and recovery?
Okay, it's several things that happened in my life. The one that really kicked it off is when I was 21. I was pregnant with my first child, and it was a very lonely experience because my mom was disappointed in me. You know how mothers can want the best for their children, and it was not something she thought I would be doing at this time. I was a college student. So it was a very stressful time. I had a bout of depression. I felt a lot of guilt and letting my mom down. Um, there was a lot of self-doubt on whether I should proceed with pregnancy. Would I be a good mom? So all that caving in on the college student who had a part-time job. It was just a horrible time. And back then, in the late 70s, there weren't organizations you can go to just talk about your problems. So I had nobody to voice my concerns with or what I was feeling, what I was going through. And I think getting to the point of remembering my first trauma experience helped me evolve into becoming an editor and mentor and advocate for people with mental health issues.
Okay, and that's really fascinating. It's how you take your experience so that it can benefit others.
Absolutely.
Oh,
I'm sure there's many women who felt the same way with their first child, especially if they were younger than I was at the time. And, family approval is everything, and it puts you in a hard place at that age and at that stage where you're vulnerable as someone expecting a child.
And that's interesting that you brought that up, because I'm sure somebody out there listening to this podcast is going through that exact same thing right now.
Yes.
They're feeling lonely. They're by themselves. They're having a child, don't feel supported, and here it is that we have someone that's been there and yet walked through that and became successful, such as yourself.
Yes.
Thank you. In your magazines, how do you discover and select the certain stories from people, especially for those? Because for those who don't know, Robin's magazine, the Spotlight on Recovery, touches all over the place, and she's able to reach those that are incarcerated and separated from their family and just dealing with life one day at a time with whatever is in front of them. And so I want to dive a little bit is how did you discover and select some of these stories, especially from people who are incarcerated?
Well, it was pretty much word of mouth. Once I had started, at once I published my advertisement in the writer's market, I was getting letters from people who were incarcerated. So I brought them on, and it was word of mouth from there. They would show somebody, hey, look what I'm doing. And next thing I know, I have another letter coming. I grew from just having 12 writers when I started out in 2001 to over 400 writers now. 85% of my writers are incarcerated. As for the topics, they just mirror some of the things that I experienced. I've done issues on domestic violence. I'm a domestic violence survivor. I've done things on teenagers and depression as someone who was depressed. I've done mental health all the time. Each topic is a form discussing a piece of mental health that somebody might be going through, like loneliness, doing the right thing when it's not popular. Why did I decide to quit my job? So many reasons there that we don't get to talk about. Even why I decided to leave school. There's a lot there that weigh on people that they don't get to talk about or don't have somebody who can listen to their journey on the reasons why. And a lot of it is fear that they don't want to talk about it. Who wants to talk about being abused as a child? How does a child know what trauma is because they're a child? How can I identify it? So I have to go and find topics that will have my writers reach back to their first trauma experience. And we go from there because I feel it's like all in a closet and you have to open that door. And I have to find ways to get them to open their doors. And I have to say, there are so many who just wanted that opportunity to say, hey, this is what I went through as a child. This is why I ended up on this journey, on this path, because I had nobody to tell my story to. I had nobody to listen to me. Nobody knows this happened. I had men holding a trauma from a child that they never told anybody they went through. And they finally had the chance to let it out, to empty that closet.
Hmm. Fascinating, and it's interesting because would you agree? What do you think about the correlation from your past experience to being able to have the tools to touch or to even identify somebody that's going through some sort of trauma and have it suppressed? What's the magic in it? How do you do that? Share with our viewers.
I share my vulnerabilities with my writers. My letter from the publisher is me saying, hey, I've been there. This is what I felt. This is what I went through. This is what I struggle with. I do struggle every day. I have bouts of depression. My thing is that I know that it's coming, so I don't fight it. I embrace it and say, okay, you're here today, but guess what? You're not staying very long. It's one thing to stay in it because I know I was in it for 6 months straight at one point, and where I couldn't do anything, to being able to say, hey, okay, I know how to get through it this way, a little bit at a time, without letting it consume me. And in my writing, I give them some of those tools, and they give me some of their tools. Believe me, they had tools as well, which
Right.
is why they're the perfect writers for people in a traumatic situation or someone living through a journey of abuse, because they're saying, hey, this is what happened to me, and this is how I had to deal with it, and this led me here, but you don't have to go that route, you know? So that's the importance of being vulnerable with my writers and let them know I'm no different than you. And that came about when I started the magazine. It was a newsletter for a drug rehab program. And what happened was they had shut down the place and went and let the clients, they were called, read newspapers. You couldn't talk to each other, couldn't watch TV, no music. And I just felt, wow, it's really intense. that these 50 people are sitting in a room with their hands folded like they're 5 years old. I
I
said,
know.
I need to try to break that before it blows up into something. So I said to the director, hey, can I start a newsletter? Let them just, write, do poetry, do art, whatever they want. Oh, he said, you think they're going to write for you? I said, I don't know. I just wanted to know it's there if they want it. They
Mm,
loved it. And all I did was take that and say, this is something that's needed. We don't have those conversations at the dinner table anymore and
mm,
haven't for decades. The churches are not the way they used to be anymore. The schools where you could go to the counselor is not the same anymore. So who do these people talk to help them? So by putting a support group in a magazine, I'm able to get inside the prisons and have those conversations with my team of writers who are sitting in the same situation as the people reading it. That way, they feel like it's, hey, he knows what I'm going through.
mm.
She knows what I'm going through. So a support group and a magazine,
Hmm. Wow.
because there's no places to have the support anymore. The family support is not the same. The church support is not the same. So how do you support?
Wow.
You put it in a magazine and you send it out.
Wow. Wow. That is, you're a genius.
Oh, thank you.
That's remarkable because I
No.
know I I've written two books. I wrote From Park Bench to Park Avenue, and I just finished and published The Ghetto Practitioner, and pretty much it details my life as I go through this thing called life. And every road is not easy, and a lot of people don't know. And I'll disclose here since I'm with you. This is my therapy. This is how I get my voice out when I go through certain situations and I feel depressed or even super anxious and I have all of this I don't know energy, I don't know what to do with it. I have a place where I can put it. And your magazine does something similar to that. And that's probably why I really enjoy writing for you, is because I have a place where I can share and other people can relate. And I receive the same when I read the other articles here. So again, um, my hat goes off to you for not only taking the time and sharing who you are, but actually putting it in a way that other people can share who they are. And that's remarkable. That's remarkable. And so with your with what you do and your work, as far as allowing people to not just cope with but deal with their trauma in a therapeutic way. What impact have you seen your magazine have on its readers or in the recovery community at home?
Well, have to say it's been a tremendous impact. Um, First time writers who have come on board share how it has changed their feelings about themselves, given them confidence. When their families get the copy, because they're entitled to 3 copies, and I can send it to their mom or sister, brother. When their family members get the copy, they are also excited, like, huh, wow, I didn't know this about you. I didn't know you were this talented, or I didn't know you felt this way. So now they have that open door to say the things they couldn't say.
Tim.
And they're not alone. Everybody that's in that magazine is telling their parents and their loved ones their stories. So they find that the support is now bridged, a opening for them to be open to their families, open to themselves, to say, hey, maybe I'm not what the courts say I am. Maybe I'm only the product of an environment, a product of a trauma, product of a rejection. And they begin to decipher their lives and find out, okay, this is why this happened. And through each issue of Spotlight, they find a little bit more about themselves by reading other people's that's then they begin to change. So I have writers that are some of the most brilliant writers. So I kudos to my writers to be able to put out the work they do in the worst possible environment. I have to say, take my hat off to them, because I don't know if I could muster up a paragraph, much less a whole article or two articles, in an environment that can be erratic at times.
Mm. Mm.
Some of them are writing novels. Some of them have already written novels and didn't publish them. Some of them were afraid to write their poetry. But since they've been published, everybody's around them say, hey, good job. A lot of them was waiting for an opportunity to share what's in their heart and what's going on, because nobody ever asked them.
Mm-hmm.
When you go into court and you've done something wrong, they're not asking you what happened, because what you did was, we're just going to deal with that. And nobody's asking what was your background life like. So they gain a lot of credibility as writers. And I stress to them that we don't want the language to be derogatory, because we want you to be seen in the best possible light. You are a professional writer, and I'm going to treat you as so. I'm not going to treat you like you're a number. When I address a letter to them, it's Mr. on the envelope. Just that little bit of recognition to say, hey, yes, I got to put your number at the end, but you're Mr. Jones. You're Mr. whoever. You're Ms. whoever. Just that little bit of confidence and letting them know that there's somebody that's not going to judge you on what you did, but they're going to judge you on what you can produce.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's super important, because life itself is imperfect, and we are imperfect beings, and the combination of that does create situations that, a lot of times, like you say, you can become a product of your environment. You're only utilizing the skills that you have, and then you end up in this situation. And I know myself, and I'm sure my listeners have heard this. For those that follow me, I've been incarcerated. I spent most of the 90s in and out of prisons. I had a CDC number, and here I am now, 26 years later. I'm a nurse practitioner. I'm an author, developing programs. And so, yes, I may have made some poor choices or even bad choices, but that doesn't mean I'm a bad person.
Right.
And I appreciate the fact that, as you share your mission and your message, you make sure that our readers know that, how about giving everybody some dignity?
Yes.
That is a person. That's somebody's relative. And what's really fascinating, all the times I've been in court, never have I had a therapist or a psychologist sitting up there going, well, Your Honor, let's look at something deeper than what he did.
Right.
And try to approach it from that. So I'm honored that you're able to bring that to light. Maybe that's why, and I don't know, I don't like it because it says spotlight on recovery. It's like, let's look at this.
Yes, absolutely. Put a spotlight on it. We're in a mental health crisis now, probably in every state. I live in New York, so I see it regularly, and I know that some of it is just a cry for help. Hurt people hurt people. You've heard that.
Yes.
It's a cry for help, and there's so many people suffering in silence. Yet they won't seek out the support. There's a lack of trust, the stigma, a lot goes along with that. The fear, finding the time to say, okay, I'm dealing with something. What do I do? A lot of people that they may be around may not have those answers.
Yes. And
they may not suggest therapy. Oh no, I'm not going to a therapist, whatever. But I wish I knew a therapist back when I was 21. I wish I knew where to go, following domestic violence. I wish I knew that I had a mental illness before I was 50, because I wasn't diagnosed with bipolar depression and manic depression until I was in my 50s. there were signs that something was off, and I couldn't put my finger on it. But you get busy. I was raising 3 children, working 2 jobs. I didn't have the mindset to say, let me go check something out until I crashed and said, I really need to take this break. And I took a year off, got diagnosed, and was happy. I have to say I was happy because now I know what I'm dealing with. It's the unknown that bothered me. I know something's wrong, but I can't put my finger on it. What is it? How am I moving around with only 4 hours sleep? You know, how am I doing this? And so once I was diagnosed, I'm like, great, now I got something that I could work with. Was it easy? No. Like I said, I was depressed for 6 months. So the year I took off, 6 months was in the bed, without being able to do anything, having to force myself to get up. But I made it through. No longer seeing a therapist, no longer on medicine. I know my triggers, and I try to stay away from those things that would make me manic, like trying to do 2 magazines and help people publish their books. So I had to drop 1 magazine and focus on helping people do their books and keep Spotlight on Recovery going. Or else I would have been in that manic cycle again. So I had to make sure that I'd be mindful of my time and what I needed.
Fascinating. And again, I appreciate you just being candid and open with me. And something hit a spot because I've right now I'm a nurse and I work on the behavioral health unit in mental health, and I'm a homeless advocate. I'm out there in the streets, and I talk to a bunch of different people about a lot of different things. And one thing I hear sometimes people say is, well, I have a mental illness, so that's why I can't do anything. Here, I hear you say, yes, I have a mental illness, but yet I'm doing things. Now,
Yes.
how does a person with that mindset take that seemingly liability, which it isn't, it is what it is, but how do you turn your history into becoming a success? How did you do it?
I spent time with myself. You have to know who you are to be able to do this work and understand your journey. Well, my journey was moving me in this direction, but I had no idea. You don't know what God has planned for you. And I didn't know until maybe, 6 years in. I was doing it and having fun, but also working another job as well. So it wasn't my thing, but it was helping me deal with my struggles because I was sharing in the magazine because I didn't have the support group at the time. I didn't have a therapist at the time because I wasn't diagnosed at that time when I started the magazine. So once I did get a therapist and I was able to recognize that I needed to slow some stuff down, it helped a lot. And that the time that I took off from my job, I spent with myself, whether it was in the bed for 6 months, it was still me actively going through my journey with depression, with bipolar disorder. I spent time with me to say, okay, what you want to do today. And the most important thing I learned in this journey is to give myself grace. To say, you may not be able to do this today, Robin, but let's try tomorrow. Don't beat yourself up over it because we tend to do that. We tend to say, oh, you're a loser. You can't get up today. You're a loser. And, I had to give myself grace. So the key is to spend time with you, to shut out some of the noise, especially the negative noise in your environment, to just spend time with you and see what you want to do with your life. Not anybody else, not a boss, because I was off. I was on a year sabbatical, so I didn't have a boss, and I was able to just spend time with me. And the only thing that was constant during that time that I spent time with me was that I was able to do Spotlight.
Mm. Okay.
That was part of my therapy was, okay, you can do this. Let's do this. If there's nothing else you can do, it's fine. We'll do this. And, I worked on myself.
Mm.
And now I know my triggers. I accept the depression when it comes because I know I can say, hey, welcome, but you're not staying.
You got to go.
Yeah, you're going to have to leave real
You
soon,
got the real spills.
and yeah.
That's right. You're
And I
great.
give myself,
No, go
and I
ahead.
give myself time to enjoy the things that I like to do. Sometimes we don't enjoy it because we're working too hard, we managing too much, and we forget about those things we like to do, whether it's sewing, writing, watching TV, playing music. Those things are non-existent in some people's lives, and they miss them, but they can't seem to get back to those things. And I would like to help them get back to them. And that includes my writers.
Mm.
They can't get back to who God intended them to be until they flush all this negativity out, whether it's through journaling, writing for me, writing songs. Some of them are songwriters, some are doing art. So whatever way you can release is a good thing, because then you'll be able to find yourself with in between the smoke and fire and ashes. Okay? You're in there, but you got to clear all this stuff out of the way, this clutter.
True.
And I was able to clear a lot of clutter out of my space and find Robin, who I love very much. And there's so many people who don't like themselves, let alone love themselves.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
And that's because there's a lot of clutter.
A lot of clutter.
And you can't see yourself with all the clutter around.
Huh. Blinded by the fog that lies within. Fascinating.
Yes.
Fascinating. One thing I've noticed, you give a lot of emphasis and credit to other people, such as your writers. Can you possibly share a story from the magazine that really touched you, in a way, or maybe somebody overcoming trauma, finding hope from behind bars?
There are so many that touch me. Many a times I've read letters from people, articles, and they just started crying because, wow, it was real. It's real. But I did find someone that I want to share their story. This is from a gentleman going by the name of Clever Talent with a K. Kleva Talent.
Mm.
And this is from the Spotlight on Loneliness issue. And he's writing lonely reflections. My loneliness is mine's alone, tailor-made and incomparable. My loneliness understands I'm comfortable with who I am. It doesn't ridicule or label me, nor does it get sad when I'm just too mad to give a damn about what's going on in the world around me. My loneliness doesn't have expectations, but a crass sense of jubilation about the irony of me, staring at me in a mirror and evaluating what I consider to be my worst and my best features. Today, it's my eyes. Yesterday, it was my smile. The variables are ever changing. Insecurity never goes out of style. My loneliness is a cloak and shield made of straw. It protects me from nothing, while also encouraging me to throw caution to the wind and risk it all. My loneliness makes me bold, self-sufficient, and ambitious, but it also makes me bitter, self-depreciating, and dismissive. For me, my loneliness is sad and tragic, but often unavoidable. It fosters desperation, a desperation which forces me to seek validation. So I put up barriers to fortify me from myself and the abysmal. Yet I'm constantly searching for someone to trust, someone I could revere with unfettered adulations and lusts. Meanwhile, I'm trying to pick up the pieces of my sanity. I tell myself, I'm okay, but I can feel that I'm not, and it frightens me. It's like having a fog over my mind that never dissipates, for I am constantly worrying The world can't see my secret flaws I keep locked inside invisible crates. I agonize over compromising my standards and interacting with people, plates, and ideals I once thought was strange. But sometimes I get lucky and make connections that elevate me and help to bring me out of the drenching rain. But more often than not, I get exposed by vulnerabilities I never even knew I had. So eagerly, I fight to stay afloat by seeking to fill others' expectations of me, which in a way is its own form of being lonely. However, there is an alternative to suckling at the teat of acceptance. And it's not that we abandon the concept of interacting with the peasants, nor should we refuse to dip our toes into the upper echelons of the social pool of life, which admittedly can become a frigid pool indeed. But rather, we should use our past experiences to help us grieve and move forward, because then we'll be able to recognize the people we really need. To paraphrase a lyric from the illustrious Nicola Stapleton, if we never make the effort to talk to strangers, we may never make a friend, because strangers just a friend we've yet to meet. A stranger is just a friend we've yet to meet.
Wow, that's powerful. That
He's
that hits in that spot, you know,
yes,
and it's and to have a place where you can be heard, your truth, and other people can be felt their truth is remarkable. Remarkable. When you were sharing that, my mind drifted, my eyes closed. I was envisioning, having some scented candles going on and some warm tea, and at the end of this presentation, I just want to go.
ah,
'Cause that's and it's really fascinating, Robin, that people won't or have not had the opportunity to be in the presence of this individual to hear that straight
right.
from the writer's mouth, but through your magazine, we're able to have that experience. And thank you so much for that. That was
You're welcome.
that was powerful. I yes, folks, I do get the privilege of writing for this lady's magazine. Just putting a cheap plug in for myself. Okay, and so
Well, tell them the truth, Anthony Brown. I gave you a full column just for you.
yes, I do have my own page. Yes, it's called
Yes,
Heartbeat.
yes. Heartbeat.
Thank you, thank you. One quick story that we're gonna get into. One more quick question that we're gonna get into how we can get hold of you and everything else. Um, in your experience, how do faith and community and storytelling support healing?
Um, Repeat. I'm sorry.
Yes, from your experience, how does your faith and the community and the way you tell stories, the way other people do storytelling, how does that support healing?
Oh, it supports healing in a big way to actually have someone tell you their truths, to tell you what's really inside them. I did an issue called Unchecked Trauma, and on the cover is all the labels, and you get the name tag. Hi, my name is bipolar. Hi, my name is anxiety. And if we all were to put that name tag with what we're dealing with on our chest and walk around, and not hide and just really be out in the world without a name tag. Hi, my name is stigma. My name is depression. Then maybe we could understand that everybody goes through something and nobody is exempt. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter what language you speak. It doesn't matter whether you're male or female. It doesn't matter if you're president of the United States. Everybody is affected. Nobody is exempt. You cannot control things that come past you. Whether you trip on a crack in the sidewalk and blow out a knee, and then you need surgery. That's an unexpected bill. You don't know how you're going to do it. Now you're out of work. So it can amount to anything that could come into your life. So it's very important to communicate your story because you might save somebody else from the same fate.
Hmm. Yeah. What is it? Why do we have to reinvent the wheel when we can just be able to find, somebody else that's been through it and, that understands it? It's a lot easier talking to another individual that's been through what you're going through as well. But you don't know this until you actually open up or find a way to open up. And speaking of finding a way to open up, how how does how does my viewers get a hold of you and your magazine?
Okay, my website is www.spotlightonrecovery.com. You can purchase a subscription, 1 year or 2 year subscription. Subscription for 1 year is just $25. You get 6 to 8 issues. It's a bi-monthly magazine. To email me for my topics for 2026, you can reach me at rgraham_100 at msn.com. And I could also give you my address when you email me. I don't want to broadcast it here.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
And and now I have all your information and how to get the magazine and all that stuff. Is this where a person would start? Like if I if I have a story I want to tell, what's the process of getting my story to you so that number one, I'll be selfish so I can be recognized and published, but number two, so that I can share a message to another individual that might be going through what I'm going through. How does that process work?
You email me, introduce yourself. And what happens is I don't take blind articles. I would send you the topics. And if you want to participate by writing for those topics, then that's what you would do. You can't just send me something and say, publish it. It has to be something that will work for the topics that I'm doing.
Okay, okay, and I I'm gonna speak freely because I do have the privilege of being one of your writers. Are you are you a tough editor?
I would think so. I would think so. I found just yesterday I was reading an article and it was a lot of repetitive. He was basically saying the same thing in the next paragraph or in the paragraph after. So I had to edit out a lot and I will send it back to the writer to review and say, hey, how do you feel about what I've done here? In another one, it was a poem where he led off with a passage and I thought the third passage would work better up here. So I took it, put it up there and I send it back. Hey, what do you think of this? And I don't have too much trouble with the editing. They don't really push me on it. There's just the one guy that pushed me on it. Um, and I just thought his language was a little bit not for the magazine.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And I had a artist send me artwork where he had, tattoos and stuff. And I said, I can't use this. I said, because I don't know what some of these signs mean. And I said, ignorance on my part is not going to cut it when I'm publishing a magazine and somebody sees it and recognizes it's something else because I'm in the prison system with my magazine and that could halt everything
Yeah.
with one sign that I don't know what it means, but I put it in the magazine and somebody that's in a prison note recognized that, oh, so she's with this group. And so ignorance on my part is not acceptable when I accept work. I don't allow writers to talk about the corrections officers in a derogatory manner because you can't paint every corrections officer with a broad brush.
Yeah.
I don't allow anything about gangs. I don't allow anything about transgender or gay or lesbians. And you can't talk about someone in your life without getting permission to have their names published. So I will do something like a different name, or I would just use an initial because I had a writer who was upset that I wouldn't use the lady's name. He said, after all, she passed away. And I said, yes, but you don't know if her children or her family are still alive. Another writer said, oh, but these were all true stories in the paper. I said, yes, but what if the parent of the child that that died is still alive. I don't want them coming across my magazine and say, hey, this is a horrible way the way he described my child's death. So I have to take into account there that I could be tough. And I will tell them why. I don't have a problem with telling them the truth about what I feel about the article, about what they wrote. No problem telling them the truth.
Okay. So this isn't just some fly by night willy nilly magazine. I can just send anything gets published. There's guidelines and it's been scrutinized. And one of the things you also shared that made me think, when you're editing and sending feedback, you're actually teaching us how to write better. And that's pretty good. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. And so once again, I don't want to repeat this. How do we get a hold of you? How do we get this magazine?
You go to spotlightonrecovery.com. You can order through the website, and you could request digital or a print magazine. Some people would like to have it in the email. I can send you the digital copy every other month. If you would like the print copy, I can send you the print copy. If you like to order for a loved one that's in prison, I can do that too. All I would need is their name, ID number, and their prison name and address. And I could send them a copy. This is a great gift for people during this holiday season, especially for the incarcerated community that's missing somebody. And they're looking for a way to calm their fears of not being able to be at home, to feel like they're not the only ones feeling what they're feeling. So this is a great gift to give them a resource, to give them a place to absorb the support group that's in the magazine, and reach back out and say, hey, I got something to say too. I want to share. And that's how it happens. I mean, I have 400 writers. I don't know if we'll hear from all of them in 2026, but I will try to get everybody in. There are writers that are, like I said, brilliant. And there are those that are still learning. I don't turn away writers that have trouble spelling or using the correct words. I will correct and send them back, or I will say, hey, you need to get a dictionary, or you need to, if you're not good with dictionaries, watch some of these shows that have good writing and listen to the dialogue. There's more than one way to learn to be a good writer if you're not into books. I'm a visual learner myself. So I learn more from watching an old movie than I would reading the book. So I take into account everybody's not on the same level, but I don't turn them away.
Okay, thank you.
I give them the opportunity to try again.
And on that note, thank you, Robin, for spending your time with us today on our show. Thank you, Robin, for spending your time for all of us who can't find our voice but somehow have it discovered. Thank you for your magazine, Spotlight on Recovery. I look forward. I'm motivated. I've always wanted to meet the editor of the magazine that I write for. I want to thank you wholeheartedly for giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts in your magazine, and for giving all of us an opportunity to meet you. Care is everywhere, and we care for all. And again, we want to thank our host, Robin Graham, for coming. Don't forget, get the magazine Spotlight on Recovery. I think she said it's $25 a year. You do the math, that's what, $1 something a month. I mean, that's not, you can't even get a cup of coffee for that anymore. And so, yes, and your writing is seen all over the place. I know, again, care is everywhere. Spotlight Recovery is all over the place. I've been in the cell myself all lonely. I would love to have gotten that, but now I get the privilege of writing, and I want you out there to also have the privilege. So reach out to Robin at all of the connections she's giving you. Share your insights, your thoughts, and your dreams, and contribute and help yourself so that we can help others. Until the next time, this is me, Anthony Brown, aka the Ghetto Practitioner, just signing off, saying, don't forget, folks, care is everywhere. Until the next time, I'll see you later.